As you can see for yourself, I've been around for a long time. And I've been in arts education for a long time, for decades. As a youngster growing up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I sat at home and watched a conductor named Leonard Bernstein introduce me and millions of other youngsters to orchestral classical music. I brought along two high-tech exhibits. This is number one. This is Leonard Bernstein on television in the 1950s. It's available online. And this was arts education circa 1955. Then, as a graduate student half a century ago, I was a founding member of Harvard Project Zero, a group that has long focused on education in the arts. Shortly thereafterwards, I was a witness testifying to a panel on arts education assembled by the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. RBF issued a report called Coming to Our Senses, S-E-N-S-E-S. I wonder how many of you remember that report? Very few. This was the cover of the report. And the report sharply focused on what can and should be done in the schools. And that was arts education in the United States circa 1975. Of course, it's 40 years later. What would happen if the proverbial visitor from another planet, who had not been here for 40 years, were to come to the United States to look at education in the arts? Let's say he was a journalist from Mars, or if you prefer, she was a journalist from Venus. Alas, the journalist can't come from a planet named Pluto anymore. That's also changed in the recent decades. The journalist would come here equipped with the classical journalistic questions, and here's the answers I would give in approximately 9 minutes. Why education in the arts? For you at the Kennedy Center today, this question would be easy to answer. You all know about the qualitative transformations and differences that a life in the arts can make, as audience members, as creators, as facilitators. How the arts enrich your experiences and the experiences of those with whom you come into contact. How the arts capture or convey the greatest and most powerful meanings of human existence, what David Rubenstein reminded of us, and what the Romans actually knew, vita breve, ars longa. As to the journalist, I'd say to him, there may be ancillary benefits of the arts, perhaps more motivation to work hard in school, perhaps economic benefits for your community. But I'd add this, I don't know anyone in the arts who engage in artistic practice primarily to raise their IQ or primarily to increase the collectible taxes of their community. And this is an argument for the intrinsic value of arts and culture. Next question, who? The arts used to be primarily for an elite, but now the arts are readily accessible to everyone through work by Damien, Yo-Yo Ma, Jacques d'Amboise, others who we're going to encounter today. We've witnessed the differences that arts can make for young persons. The Rockefeller Brothers Fund knew that. But today, older persons are also a large and growing audience. They, or perhaps we, are much more likely to visit a museum or attend a performance or to take out our own instrument in our later years if we were involved in the arts when we were young, through creating works of arts or through courses in school or college. And so that's an important reason why we should think about artistic education as covering the demographic waterfront as a form of lifelong learning, which actually you can do long after you cease being able to run the mile or the marathon. Where? Arts education, as I said, used to be primarily in schools. But despite the valiant efforts of many of you gathered here, the role of arts in schools in America has steadily diminished since the Bernstein 1950s and the RBF 1970s. The Common Core dominates the educational radar screen, and STEM is ubiquitous, not STEAM. But on the positive side, the arts used to be housed primarily in certain institutions and at certain hours. But now you can find the arts everywhere, in community centers, in public places, in the traditional media, on the web, in social media. We have access to the greatest works of all time in multiple media at the touch of a pad, and we can edit, mix, match, mash, 24/7. This leaves the question of how. As a scholar working in psychology and education, answering the how question is my daily job. In 1975, Howard Gardner would have talked about the arts as engaging in developing the full range of human intelligences, not just language and logic, which is what we typically test for, but musical, bodily, spatial, personal, and emotional intelligences. As Nelson Goodman, who was the founder of Harvard Project Zero, liked to quip, we don't want education to be half-brained. And you probably know different parts of the brain serve different intelligences. Not only do we want to use the full range of capacities, but we want to be able to connect the intelligences in new and unexpected ways, tangibly and virtually, in school and in the park, on the ground and in cyberspace. There's no need for the arts to hug traditional boundaries, and we got a little taste of that this morning, even a little exercise before the proceedings continued. The Howard Gardner of 2015 is engaged in a national study of collegiate education in the liberal arts and sciences. For Thomas Jefferson, and for those, like the individuals here, who are imbued with his spirit, liberal arts and science education is a form of residential education where the mind and the body and the spirit can wander freely for up to 4 years, opening up possibilities and transformations at the most flexible and freest period of life. Oh, to be 18 again. Yet, as you all know, traditional education in the liberal arts and sciences is in jeopardy because of its expense, because of what I call hypervocationalism, and because of various challenges on the campus itself. When our journalist was here 40 years ago, the Academy epitomized C.P. Snow's two cultures. Students either focused on the humanities, typically English or history, or in the sciences. Now the seesaw has tilted sharply toward the sciences, and because of various factors, the humanities are seen as feeble and on the defensive. But there's a silver lining, perhaps even a golden one. I'm convinced that today, the arts can provide a unique and powerful bridge between the humanities and the sciences. And that's because the tools available to creators, digital and tangible, can emanate from anywhere and can be applied anywhere. These tools in media do not respect disciplinary boundaries. They're invariably interdisciplinary. As Walter Isaacson taught us, Steve Jobs moved seamlessly across art, design, technology, and as the many artists and civic artists and citizen artists who are here today remind us, you can work with students and teachers and turn around schools, parks, centers, labs, even apps. These heroic educators don't necessarily use the term art. They could talk about design, making, creating, but in essence, the arts educators of today and of tomorrow are simply human beings using all of their faculties to capture what we know, what we feel, what we value in powerful, indeed unforgettable forms. This is the heartland of the arts. Perhaps, just perhaps, a renewed focus on the arts in our colleges and universities can powerfully bridge the humanities and the sciences and help to reinvigorate the liberal arts education that so many of us cherish. It's an education that's been distinctly American, dating back to our founding fathers, and it's still admired the world over today. And note, if colleges and universities truly value the arts and see them as a bridge, K-12 education will take note. I even have a headline or a tweet for our interdisciplinary journalist. Arts education, from Lenny in the years of music to Leonardo, the universal genius. And so my closing remark to the intrepid visitor, you can take back answers. Compared to decades ago, the arts in the United States are everywhere. They are for everybody. They make use of the huge range of human faculties, and they offer a powerful way to synthesize different perspectives on human existence and human possibilities. The arts can and should be central to education, spanning humanistic and scientific studies from before school throughout life. We, dear journalist, would like to export our knowledge and media to anybody on your planet who's interested in limitless possibilities. In the process, perhaps we'll improve our balance of trade. And if you have products and processes that would fascinate and energize us, sign me up for a visit to your celestial sphere. Thank you.